Hey guys, and welcome back to Ember Quartz part 18 and the Tomo Route. So finally I'm not recording late at night, so I'm not even going to stall this time and let's just start. So we are following Father, who arrived at the scene.
ああ、神谷さん、おはようございます。
But this is the same voice actor who was the mayor.
どうも。どうですか、状況は。
所持品から分かった身元ですが、名前は木下翔吾、祭沢市立学園の1年 C 組に所属。
That was it? I thought you were still going after like a long sentence like this.
祭沢市立学園。なるほど。
ミイラ化した死体が発見されたのは今月に入ってこれで4度目ですな。
Fourth time. Damn, you move fast. That's right, this wasn't the first time this mummification incident had occurred. All of these incidents occurred within the city of Matsuzawa, and no particular connection had been found between the victims. That is, until this fourth incident occurred.
同じクラスの生徒が同じ開始を遂げるか。
3人目の被害者ですか。やはり関係が？
それは調べてみないとわかりませんが、もし偶然でないなら捜査の糸口にはなるでしょ
う。Looking at the first three cases, there appears to be a pattern of indiscriminate killings. However, it is still too early to say for certain whether these constitute murder. However, it wasn't until the third and fourth cases that a common thread finally emerged. Since we don't have any other leads at the moment, we can't afford to ignore this point.
にしても、ミイラってのはどういうことなんでしょうな。
解剖の結果では、ごく短時間の間に急激にミイラ化したことが判明していますね。
私もそれ聞きましたけど、本当にそんな真似が可能なんですかね。
ある種の大掛かりな機械を使えば同じ現象を再現するのは理論的には可能だとか。
しかし今回の事件はともかく、前回は自宅の部屋ですよ。もちろん室内に怪しいものも見つかっていない。
I have a feeling that this detective is just like sidetracking from everything, and he's never going to know the full picture. Cliché is going to happen because I mean, I would love to be proven wrong, but this is usually the case with these type of characters. So he's never going to get redeemed by his family.
そこなんですよね。犯行の手口が全くわからない。
Isn't there like surveillance cameras in this place? Maybe set one up? The previous case involving Naoki Takayama was almost like a locked room murder. We still don't know anything about the method of the crime or how the perpetrator gained entry. Even in the case of the first two crimes, the common pattern is that the victims were alone indoors. However, this time the crime took place on the street. Since there were apparently very few people around at the time of the incident, killing the victim itself probably wouldn't have been difficult.
ただ、全身をミイラにするなんていう非常識な殺人方法でなければな。
Details regarding the shocking cause of death have not been disclosed at this time. However, with this incident having occurred, it will likely become impossible to keep that a secret any longer.
この事件、匂うな。7年前の連続失踪事件と同じ匂いが。
This kept on happening for a very long time and you just noticed. I thought you know it all. No, it's not just this incident. There have been a lot of strange incidents happening in Matsuzawa City lately. You are like your son, bro. You don't know shit unless you, like, repeat it inside your head. Come to think of it, there was an incident a while back where a suspicious person broke into the school and caused a disturbance. That incident also took place at Matsuzawa Municipal Academy. What? Everything is connected. Everything is surely connected. What is this, dark?
神谷さん、なんで笑ってるんですか？
笑ってる？私が？
Am I laughing? I didn't realize it until someone pointed it out. Yes, I was smiling. I was actually feeling joy. I've been waiting for this for 7 long years. I'm going to catch the person who drove my daughter to her death 7 years ago. Oh my god. I want to scream, but I'm not going to. And it seems that just recently the culprit has finally resumed their activities. To avenge my daughter, I abandoned even the family I had left behind, and now, at last, my chance for revenge has come. You vocabularize, or like you say this out loud in your head, and you think that this is like, yes, I will become the father my family needs me to be. No, we don't really care about, like, justice at this point, because it was 7 years. So if you think that you can't show your face in front of your family for 7 years, that's terrible.
今度こそ逃がさない。この手で必ず犯人を捕まえてみせる。
I had secretly vowed to myself that I would. Well then, let's eat.
いただきまーす。はい、いただきます。
The breakfast table, a scene of the 3 of us eating together, has become completely routine. Nayuta came over to my place again this morning and made breakfast for me. Mom seemed delighted to welcome Nayuta into the family and relied on her completely.
なゆたちゃんが朝うちに来てくれるようになってからほんと助かってるわ。
そうですか？お邪魔じゃなければいいんですけど。
邪魔だなんてとんでもない。夜勤で疲れて帰ってきたところでなゆたちゃんの笑顔癒されるわ。
本当ですか？嬉しいです。
はあ、なんてけなげ。スバルにあげるのがもったいないわ。むしろ私の嫁になって。
それは困っちゃいます。
ちぇ、振られちゃった。やっぱりスバルが一番なわけね。
You did not even try. Don't have that kind of embarrassing conversation right in front of her. It felt like the outer moat had been completely filled in, and I felt a vague sense of unease.
でもね、ほんと最近ちょっと仕事が忙しくて、スバルにご飯を作ってあげることもできてないわね。
It's fine, don't worry about it.
お母様、あんまり無理しないでくださいね。
ありがとう、なゆたちゃん。でも大丈夫よ。スバルが一人前の大人になるまでは頑張らなくちゃ。
Mom.
私も少しでも先輩やお母様の力になれるよう頑張ります。
なゆたちゃん。もうたまんねえ。ハグしちゃおう、ハグ。
ハグ。
Mom put Nayuta in a headlock. No, wait, she pulled him close against her ample bosom. Mom's surprisingly strong, and with those massive boobs, I just hope Nayuta doesn't get crushed to death. The emphasis. Come to think of it, Nayuta aside, Mom's really gotten into it lately, hasn't she? Mom Route when. My mom is usually a cheerful person. I mean, Onyikis did a Mom Route, and that was like 50 or so minutes only. My mom is usually a cheerful person, but even she isn't a hyper when it's just the 2 of us. Mom must be so excited because she really loves Nayuta. My mom is definitely better now that she was right after she lost my sister 7 years ago, when she was in such a fragile emotional state. But when I saw my mom doting on Nayuta as if she were her own daughter, I sometimes felt a faint pang of pain. Because it was a glimpse of a happy future that might have been.
先輩、どうかしましたか？
Huh? No, it's nothing.
そうですか？ なんだかちょっと寂しそうに見えたから。
Nayuta peered at my face and said worriedly, Nayuta, how come you can just blurt things like that out so casually? Come on, it's time for school.
私まだ食べ終わってないですよ。
Well, hurry up and eat. I'm leaving. I stood up, acting aloof on purpose so no one would see through me.
先輩、待ってくださいよ。
こらスバル、待ってあげなさい。なゆたちゃん、ゆっくり食べていいからね。
Mom takes Nayuta's side and scolds me. It's just like when a big brother gets scolded while his little sister is being defended. That sight made me feel a little sad again. The bell rang, and it was the first period. Normally, class would start right about now, but the teacher is standing silently at the front of the classroom. Apparently, there was supposed to be a special school-wide announcement at the start of the first period today. See, this is the type of alarms that I love.
皆さん、おはようございます。
I thought this was my father. The voice coming from the classroom speakers was that of the school principal. And without further ado, the principal cut straight to the case.
もう知ってる人もいるでしょうが、先日、1年 C 組の高山直樹くんが自宅で亡くなりました。そして昨日、同じく1年 C 組の木下翔吾くんが下校途中に亡くなりました。
I'm so glad that I'm not playing someone from the 1C because I would just like hear left and right, what is going to happen to me? Are we going to be killed? I think that there's like a riot under this floor. Immediately after the broadcast, the classroom began to buzz with hushed whispers. It seemed the same thing had happened in the class next door, and the whole school was in an uproar.
同じクラスの男子が2人続けて、それってどういうことだよ。
From our class? Not the junior class?
ねえ、知ってた？私全然知らなかった。私は部活の後輩から聞いて。だけど、もう一人死んでるっていうのは初耳だよ。
Since they were first-year students, some of us knew almost nothing about them, while others had heard rumors through club activities or other connections. There are also rumors circulating that Naoki Takayama stopped going to school and eventually took his own life because he couldn't bear the bullying. I was quietly eavesdropping on the buzz around me, but I didn't pick up anything particularly new.
こら、静かにしろ！黙って放送を聞いていなさい！
Shut the fuck up. As the math teacher in charge of the first period scolded the restless students, I glanced over at Tomo. She's listening to Nirvana. Tomo kept her headphones on, seemingly completely oblivious to the commotion around her. But to me, it looked like Tomo was forcing herself to strike that pose. The principal's speech went on and on after that, but he never once mentioned the mysterious circumstances surrounding the death of a student named Shogo Kinoshita. Lunchtime. Normally, this is when Nayuta and the others would show up and we eat lunch on the rooftop, but since both Nayuta and I have a lot of research to do today, our lunch meeting was cancelled.
あれ、なゆたちゃんたちは？今日は遅いんだな。
Oh, I guess I didn't tell you yet. Amamiya said he couldn't. No, not Amamiya said. Nayuta said she couldn't make it today because he has something to do.
あれ、そうなの？珍しいな。
By the way, I got some errands to run, so I'm afraid I can't join you for dinner.
なんだよ。じゃあ、玉野ちゃんは？
Do you really think Tanuki would come on her own when Nayuta isn't here?
思わない。
In other words, that's exactly it.
しゃあない。今日は他のやつと食うよ。
I'm really sorry.
んだ。別にがっかりなんてしてないんだからね。
What in the blush? Why are you being so tsundere right now?
冗談だよ。じゃあ腹も減ったし、俺行くわ。
I'll see you later. Amamiya took some sweet bread with him and went to join the other group eating lunch in the classroom. After watching that, I glanced over at Tomo's seat. Then, after making sure the seat was empty, I left the classroom. Alright then, let's go. Stepping out into the hallway, I made my way through the lunchtime bustle toward a certain spot. After we found that body yesterday, we all talked it over and decided to investigate the two boys who had died. The two who died were both students in Class 1C. That's the only thing they have in common so far, but there must be something else. I was particularly struck by the fact that Takayama, the boy who died first, has stopped going to school because of bullying. So Nayuta, who is in the same grade, took charge of finding out what kind of information was circulating among the first year students. Since Tomo and I were in different grades, we had agreed to gather information using different approaches. I keep coming here. Excuse me? I found myself in the science prep room, the smell of chemicals mingled with the dusty air stinging my nose. But there's no one in sight. I was supposed to meet up with Tomo here, but... Tomo, are you here? When I called out Tomo's name, I saw her waving me over from behind the desk in front of her. Oh, so that's where you were. I walked around to the other side of the desk. Sorry, Father, for I have sinned. I don't know why this keeps happening. You know, I just had to do it for the thumbnail. Fuck, I fucked it up. I don't know what it said. Sorry.
ちょうど今から。
There was Tomo sitting cross-legged on the floor, fiddling with her laptop. From the entrance to the science prep room, this area is completely out of sight, so I didn't notice it at all at first glance. Have you eaten lunch yet?
うん、済ませた。
Calorie mate again. I told you to eat a proper meal.
なんでわかったの？
I mean, there's an empty calorie mate box lying on the floor. Yeah, really, and it seems like it's vanilla flavored or chocolate, I don't know.
スバル君、鋭い。
No, it's exactly what it looks like. I mean, you're trying to cover it up. Or not trying to cover it up, aren't you?
ちょっと静かにしてて、今手が離せない。
She's trying to cover it up. She's definitely trying to cover it up, right? This is the cutest CG, I just have to say it. I mean, her eyes are darting around a bit, and her cheeks look a little red too. Even as they exchanged these words, Tomo opened her browser and started fiddling with it. It looks like it's connected to the internet. Since there's no cable connected, I guess it's wireless. This is Tomo's area of expertise, so I just leave it to her for now. In this investigation, Tomo, who isn't very good with people, was in charge of gathering information online. My role was to verify the information I gathered there and use it to conduct further interviews. So for the time being, I just keep quiet and watch over Tomo. Oh.
何？
Well, I mean, did you notice? Tomo is operating her laptop, which is resting on the floor, with one knee propped up. With her sitting like that, her skirt rides up, revealing her inner thighs and a white triangle of her underwear. It was unnatural, unguarded ease, just as if she were alone in her own room. To be honest, I don't know where to look, but I also feel reluctant to point it out directly.
ねえ、見て。
No, you shouldn't be looking at that as a human being. No, as a... Oh my god.
はい。
Poor girl. I forgot that I play as a bastard. Tomo looked up at me with a puzzled expression as I spoke, as if trying to convince myself. It seems I'm getting a little overwhelmed by everything. If you point it out, she's always going to be embarrassed.
PC の画面を見てって言ったんだけど。
Right, yeah, I knew that, of course. Trying to hide my inner anxiety, I peered at the screen of her laptop. It looked like some kind of message board with the poster's comments listed on one after another. At first glance, it looks like a typical message board. Tomo, what's this?
学校裏サイト。
Wait, there's a basement? In response to my question, Tomo muttered under her breath. I've heard of school backdoor too. If I recall correctly, it was a general term for unofficial message boards set up by students and others separate from the school's official website. See, the translation made me think of like a casemat or something. Or a catacombs under the school. I don't know why it keeps like lowering the text, by the way. Maybe I should just lower the text size or decrease the text size. In some cases, specific students were named and slandered in posts there, and the site became a social issue because it was seen as a breeding ground for bullying. So what we are looking at right now is our school's dark web site then?
そう。私も実際に見るのは初めてだけど。
What is this school? I think it means grey web, because dark web is entirely different. As she spoke, Tomo deftly tapped away at the keyboard with one hand, searching for the term. The search term is Class 1C.
ヒット。多分これのこと。
Hitto. What's this? Auntie from Class 1C was being bullied by SK's group. Auntie and SK, Naoki Takayama and Shogo Kinoshita, huh? Although the author is identified only by initials, specifying Class 1C defeats the purpose of anonymity. Watashi wa Heku Tomo desu. I didn't expect them to find me so easily. What? I didn't expect her to find them so easily. I guess it's true that information really does get concentrated online.
それも良し悪しだけど、確かにこういう場合はいろいろと便利かも。
Yeah, I guess we should be grateful for the wonders of modern technology. I kept expressing my admiration as I checked the BBS with Tomo. According to the post, Shogo Kinoshita, who died yesterday, was apparently the ringleader of a group of bullies who had been tormenting Naoki Takayama. So Naoki Takayama really was being bullied after all. That explains why he stopped going to school. It all makes sense now.
スバルくん、見て。ほら、ここの書き込み。
What's this? SK's death yesterday must have been the work of Auntie's vengeful spirit after he committed suicide. Is that what it says? Can't you read? It was a very straightforward sales pitch. Naoki Takayama, who had stopped going to school after being bullied, died, and a few days later, the ringleader of the bullying group was murdered. So everyone in that group is going to die, probably. If the people posting here found out how Shogo Kinoshita died, the theory that he died with a grudge against someone would likely gain even more support. By the way, this was like the same plot of the Angel Beats event in Hammerman's Red. that a group of kids believed that someone's bullied soul came at them and killed them all. Come to think of it, Yuji mentioned it too, but was Naoki Takayama's death really a suicide?
そういう噂は流れてたみたいだけど、確定的な情報ソースがあるわけじゃないみたい。
In that case, we will have to start by checking that first. I felt like I was starting to get a sense of what needed to be done. Furthermore, after reviewing the archives of the school's unofficial website, it is clear that Naoki Takayama was indeed being bullied by Shogo Kinoshita and his group. There are several eyewitness accounts posted here, so it seems quite reliable. Well then, what should we do now? Based on the information we found on the computer, Tom and I will discuss this matter. It is highly likely that yesterday's incident was the work of a foreign deity. But is Naoki Takayama's death related to yesterday's incident? Or is it just a coincidence?
私は高山直樹の死についてもう少し調べてみる。
Got it. I leave that to you. Rumor has it that he committed suicide because he was being bullied, but we need to verify whether that's true. Tomo said he had been following the news and other reports circulating online. Well then, I go ask around among the second-year students. To be honest, it probably isn't as reliable as the info from first-year students, but you might come across some surprising tidbits. We have to do everything we can. We have to do this to prevent any more casualties. Well then, I'm going to go start asking around right away. As I was about to leave the science prep room, Tomo called out to me, as if to say something. What's up, Tomo?
その
You want to go together? When I turned around and asked her to repeat that, Tomo whispered softly, looking down.
頑張って。
I felt like this wasn't the thing she wanted to say. Oh, I leave that to you too. When I heard that, I felt a little happy and replied with a smile. Well then, where should I start? As I stepped out of the science prep room, I searched my mind for any clues. Well, I guess I should just casually ask around among my friends and acquaintances. So if I had to pick a place where I'm most likely to run into people I know, so it's my class after all. So I decided to head back to the classroom first. Classroom 2B. About half of the class has stayed behind each, enjoying their lunch break. Also, if you look closely, you will see some kids from other classes mixed in. Some of them were even in my class last year. Let's start by asking people I know. With that in mind, I looked around the classroom and spotted Amamiya eating with the rest of the class.
いやいやマジだって今度行ってみマジすげえからほんとかよそりゃちょっとは見てみたいけどさ
そういうのってぼったくりとかじゃねえだろうな。
ちゃうちゃうそんなんちゃうって確かに値段はややお高いがそれだけの価値はある
I have no idea what they are talking about, though I can sort of guess, but the Amamiya group is chatting and laughing merrily. Judging by the group, they weren't the sort of people who usually talked much, but Amamiya was chatting away and livening up the atmosphere. Man, he is really sociable. Despite his appearance, Amamiya is very perceptive and is both a good speaker and a good listener. I wish Tomo would just be a little more outgoing, even if it's only a tenth as much as Amamiya. Oh, let's put that aside for now. I remember my true mission and headed toward Amamiya and the others. Hey there, can I ask you something?
なんだ安藤か野暮はどうした
I got a quick errand around. Hey, about this morning's school announcement.
ああ1年の生徒が2人死んだってやつか
Yeah, that's it. Did you guys know about that year?
いや、俺はよく知らねえな。1年の知り合いなんてそんなにいないし。
あ、俺は部活の後輩からちらっと噂を聞いたことがあったぜ。
Really? What's the rumor?
いや、なんか不登校の1年が家で死んだってさ、自殺したんじゃないかとかなんとか。
Is that story about the suicide true?
さあ、でも不登校の原因はいじめだって話で、しかも家で死んでたんだから自殺だとしてもおかしくないだろう。
It's true that bearing illness or an accident, it's hard to imagine anyone dying suddenly at home for any reason other than suicide. It's possible he was mugged, but if that were the case, that information would have been clearly conveyed. That is assuming the robber was an ordinary person.
ところでお前、そんなこと聞いてどうすんの？
No, you know, Danyuji mentioned it before, right? The story about the Versi student on the library committee who died.
ああ、そういえば。あれって校内放送で言ってたやつのことだったんだな。
That's right, so Naruto is worried about it too and says she wants to look into all sorts of things for Danyuji's sake. I guess you could say I'm helping out or something like that.
そっか。それでなゆたちゃんも今日来なかったんだな。
It was just a quick off-the-cuff lie, but Amamiya somehow bought it. I asked the others about it too, but unfortunately I didn't get any new information. Thanks everyone, sorry for interrupting your meal.
それはいいけどよ。安藤もよくやるよな。
Huh? What are you talking about?
いくら彼女のためとはいえ、探偵の真似事までするとは愛だね。
Even if I say she's not really my girlfriend, you wouldn't believe me, would you?
今さら照れるなよ。むしろあれで付き合ってないなら、お前はインポだ。
I mean, yeah, thank you. Somebody call this man a dickhead as many times as you want, because I keep calling him, and I just kind of feel like he's like living up to a big old slap in the face. Don't call me important. Yeah, call me dickhead instead.
そうだぞ。安藤は国宝級の優柔不断なだけなんだからな。
Amamiya, that's not really a comeback.
うん、フォローしたつもりもないから。
With a playful tone, Amamiya narrowed his already narrow eyes even further and smiled. Even as I said things like that, I thanked them and left, deciding to check out the other classes as well. So I spent my entire lunch break asking around, but I didn't come up with much useful information. I guess our only hope is Nayuta, who's been talking to the freshmen, and Tomo, who's gathering information online. That's kind of how it was. Me reporting to everyone on what I accomplished during lunch break. After school, 6 friends gathered at an abandoned factory, so they immediately set about organizing the information they have gathered. I was supposed to give the update first, but I don't have much to report, so I'm a little sorry about that.
それじゃあ次はなゆたちゃんの報告を聞かせてくれる？はい。私は主に1年生に聞き込みをして回ったんですけど。
Since Narita was in a different class, she didn't know Naoki Takayama or Shogo Kinoshita personally. What the fuck is going on? But after asking around among the students in Class 1C and their friends, I discovered that it seems to be true that Naoki Takayama was being bullied by the same group that Shogo Kinoshita, who died yesterday, belonged to. Judging by the information Tomo gathered from the school's underground website, that's almost certainly correct.
それでその高山くんなんですけど、いじめられる前は性格も明るくて、むしろクラスの人気者だったみたいです。あら、そうなの？ちょっと意外な感じね。でもそんな風に目立っていたせいで、木下くんたち不良グループに目をつけられたらしくて。
あの手の輩は基本的に目立ちたがり屋だからな。自分より目立つ連中が気に入らないらしい。
Come to think of it, Kyo, you got hassled by some delinquents in the shopping district a while back, didn't you?
ああ、あの時か。たまにあるんだ。犬に吠えられることが。
Are you treating treating them like a dog? Well, from Kyo's perspective, the town's dogs are probably no bigger than the small dogs.
とにかくそんな感じで、高山くんは木下くんたちのグループに頻繁に絡まれるようになったそうです。
So it didn't take long for that to turn into outright bullying. Is that what you're saying? Before long, Naoki Takayama stopped coming to school and effectively became a shut-in. Ever since the second half of the first semester, the child has continued to refuse to go to school even after summer vacation ended. And then the other day, he was found dead at his home.
本当は木下くんのグループに直接話を聞ければよかったんですけど、さすがに怖くて聞けませんでした。
It's okay, you don't have to do anything that's dangerous. That's more than enough. I hurriedly told Nayuta that. Nayuta's drive comes in handy at times like this. Drive, yeah. But I was on edge because she tends to go overboard with everything. Speaking of which, I heard a rumor that Naoki Takayama committed suicide. Is that true?
それは私も気になってたんですけど、自殺というのはあくまで噂で、亡くなった原因については結局わからなかったんですよね。そこが少し引っかかる。
At that moment, Tomo, who had been silent until then, spoke up.
自殺なら首吊りなのか手首を切ったのか、それとも睡眠薬を飲んだのか、その方法について何か情報があってもいいはず。でも噂ではただ自殺というだけで、具体的なことは誰も知らない。
Tomo was definitely right. Even after all that research, Noita still couldn't figure it out.
そして仮に自殺じゃないとしたら、若くて健康な男子が突然死するのはやっぱり不自然。
それなんだけど、私の方でも少し調べてたらちょっと気になったことがあって。
What did Mikona find out?
私はうちの神社と縁のある葬儀場に行って高山くんのお葬式の時のことを聞いてみたの。
A funeral home, huh? I never even thought to look into places like that. That's just like the daughters of the Shinto shrine priest.
そしたらそのお葬式では決して棺の中が開かれなかったらしいわ。最後の別れの時ですらも。
What do you mean by that?
そういう場合、考えられるケースは2つ。何らかの理由で遺体がそこになかったか、もしくは遺体が人目に出せないような状態だったか。例えば、そう、原因不明でミイラになっているとかね。
じゃあその高山って子も昨日のあれみたいに？
あくまで私の推測だけどね。昨日のあれが偉人の仕業なら、高山くんも同じ偉人に襲われた可能性はあると思う。彼が死んだ原因について誰も知らないのも、遺体がどういうわけかミイラと化していたから。
So the police were covering that up? The idea that the body has mysteriously mummified is so shocking that I can understand why it can be made public. And that cover-up of information is what led to the Naoki Takayama suicide theory.
でもなんでわざわざミイラなのよ。まさか偉人の趣味ってわけじゃないでしょうね。
そこなのよね。偉人が人を食うときは普通衣服だけを残して肉体を吸収するんだけど、
実際7年前のこの町では服だけを残して人が消える事件が多発してたしな。
But the modus operandi in this case is different. I don't know why the body has mummified. Or we don't know. But I suppose only a demon god could pull off something like turning a person into a mummy in such a short time.
それでもし仮に高山くんが偉人に襲われて食われてしまったのだとしたら、 偉人はその性質上、高山くんの記憶を受け継ぐことになる。
That fact had come to light during the battle against the alien deity that had attacked Salina. When the demon devours a person, it devours their memories as well. I don't know how it works, but they say that the alien gods feed on human memories. But that is precisely why they are influenced by the memories of the people they devour. The more intense the emotions associated with those memories, the more...
いじめのせいで不登校になった高山くんの記憶は、おそらく深い絶望と悲しみに満たされていたでしょうね。そして、その記憶を受け継いだ偉人は、一体どうすると思う？
Kill everyone who was in the same class. Make those words set my mind racing. I'm 2 steps ahead every time the VN is ahead. The alien god that devoured the serial killer had inherited its tastes and developed a strong obsession with dismembering woman. I suppose the extent to which a human's memories are affected by demon's consumption varies from person to person. Isn't that the same principle as how people have different impressions and reactions to the same book? But if the alien god devoured Naoki Takayama and was strongly influenced by his memories... Ishin has become a shut-in. Ishin is plotting revenge. I think... I don't know what I have to say, but I think I have to say the second one. But I have a root guide, one moment. So I just checked and I have to choose the revenge. Ishin was thinking of revenge. No. No way. Are you saying Ishin took revenge on the police instead of Naoki Takayama?
おそらくはね。それなら、高山くんの死と昨日の事件との関係もつながってくる。
だとしたら、その復讐はもう終わったんでしょうか？終わってない。高山直樹をいじめていたのは、木下翔吾だけじゃない。
That's right. It must have been a group of troublemakers from Class 1C, including Kinoshita, who were bullying Takayama. I just got a, hunch that this route is building up towards, the Ishin kidnapping, Tomo. And he inherits such a trauma that he becomes, defeated instantly. Even if Kinoshita had been the ringleader of the bullying, it was hard to imagine that the rest of the group would get off scot-free. So does that mean the remaining members of the bullying group are the next ones the other god is targeting?
その可能性は高いな。高山直樹の記憶は自分をいじめた連中をしっかりと覚えていただろうし。
In response to my mutterings, which sounded more like a soliloquy, what the fuck, Kyo replied calmly and without fuss. This is bad. In that case, I can't just sit around taking it easy. Naruto, do you know all the members of Kinoshita's delinquent gang?
すみません。そこまではまだ調べてないんです。
I see. Damn it. What am I supposed to do?
落ち着け。不良グループがたむろしそうな場所なら、俺にいくつか心当たりがある。
Is that so? But why would I have a hunch about a place like that?
俺はどうもその手の連中に絡まれたり、逆に仲間と思われて誘われることが多くてな。
Are you sorry?
だからそういう場所についても自然と詳しくなったってわけだ。
I see. That makes sense. Kyo does look pretty intimidating these days after all. Anyway, that settles our plan moving forward. For now, the purpose of today's patrol is to find the remaining members of Kinoshita's gang. So we decided to split up and patrol the areas where those types were likely to hang out. If our guess is wrong, that'd be for the best though. But if my earlier assumption is correct, Time is of the essence. Since people's lives were at stake, we couldn't ignore even the slightest possibility. Looking out the window of the abandoned factory, I saw the sky gradually turning crimson. The day went by in the blink of an eye. Time sure flies.
そうね。ちょっと急ぎましょう。
Selina and I walked briskly through the town at dusk. Today's patrol team consisted of Narita and Kyo, Mikone and Tomo, and me and Selina. I feel like tomorrow is going to be me and Tomo then? Or me and Narita, I don't know. We are heading toward the shopping district to look for Kinoshita and the other members of the delinquent gang. Since Selina works part-time at a coffee shop in the shopping district, she seemed to have a pretty good idea of where those kinds of places were.
ねえ、スバル。さっきの都の推測のことなんだけど。
So you are saying that because the other got devoured Naoki Takayama, he is trying to take revenge on the police?
そう。私ね、あれって結構確信をついてると思うの。偉人の本質っていうか、そういうのを。
The true nature of the alien god.
私、前に偉人に狙われてたじゃない？だからあいつらの執着心ってのに実感あるし。
It's true that the alien god who attacked Selina before had a strong obsession with her. That was because he had been deeply influenced by the memories of a serial killer and was targeting Selina as his next victim.
あいつら、一度決めたらすごいしつこいのよ。狙った獲物は地の果てまで追いかけてくるって感じ。だから、もし本当に偉人が復讐を企んでるなら、間違いなく、いじめグループの残りも狙われると思う。
So that's the true nature of the other gods.
うん。偉人って思考が結構シンプルっていうか、まるで子供みたいに単純で、融通が利かない感じがする。
Now that you mention it, the first foreign god I ever encountered was just like that. The first alien god stormed into the school, targeting me and Nayuta. I think he said the reason was I had my eye on it yesterday but missed my chance to eat it. It was probably just a coincidence that they targeted me and Nayuta first. I'm sure it could have been anyone. And yet, just because he missed out on eating it, he went so far as to storm into the school, even though he knew he would be seen by others. Perhaps that means strange gods became obsessed with humans over and over and over again, for even the most trivial of reasons.
結局、偉人って何なんだろうね。
Well, I wonder about that too. I didn't know that either. Alright, we made it before sunset.
ちょっと待ちなさいよ。疲れた。
Sorry, should we take a break?
大丈夫よ。息が整ったらすぐに探しに行くからね。
I hurried along a pace somewhere between a brisk walk and a jog, and finally arrived at the shopping district. Selina put on a brave face despite gasping for breath, and started walking again with hardly a break. Then Selina and I walked around together, checking out the area in front of the arcade and other places. This feels more so like a common route with some Tomo sex scenes probably like thrown in there, rather than like, you know, character route, because I'm talking about talking with everyone here but Tomo. Since I don't know the faces or names of the members of the bullying group, I just look for anyone wearing our school uniform and go up to them. The keywords are first year student, A class C, ML student.
ねえ、そこのあなた。ちょっといいかしら。
ん？わお、かわいい！君、それ松女の制服だよね。
いや、私のことはいいの。それより聞きたいことがあるんだけど。
何でも聞いて。あ、ちなみにこう見えて彼女いないから。
そんなこと聞いてないわよ。あなた、一学の生徒でしょ？何年生？
はい、1年生っす。君は何年なの？
私も1年よ。それで聞きたいんだけど、1年 C 組の木下って。
まあまあ、立ち話もなんだし、そこの店でゆっくり話そうよ。
こっちはそんな暇ないのよ。いいから質問に答えなさい。
なんだよ、つれねえな。そんなんだと聞きたいことも答えてあげないぜ。
このいい加減にしないと吹っ飛ばすわよ。
あれ、怒った？でも怒った顔もかわいい。
Shut the fuck up.
いいわ。じゃあそこの路地裏で話しましょう。
わお、最初っからその気だったんじゃん。何？さっきまでのはじらしプレイ？
いいからあっち行きましょう。
はいはいはい、行きまーす。
Oh my god! She fucking killed her. Or killed him. Did that. Okay, I love this.
残念。何も知らなかったわ。
Salina, what about that guy from earlier?
大丈夫。加減はしたから。多少は威力の調整もできるようになったのよ。
I mean, Mikone is going to just like burst here or run here. What happened? That's fine, but let's not use our special abilities for something like that. It will just use up our supply of test tubes.
大丈夫よ。今はストック結構溜まってるし、いざとなったら自分で切って血を出すもん。
She was a kid who said the most outrageous things in more ways than one. Salina's special ability is to transform her blood. Fuck you. I know that. Don't repeat every fucking info that I know. To make the most of the power, Salina collects her own blood in test tubes and stores it. Salina's main tactic in battle against the alien gods was to herd the test tubes containing the oil. I know. However, since there is a limit to the number of test tubes you can carry, you naturally have to be careful about how many you have left. That's why I don't want you to waste your powers on such trivial things. You just said that in thought. And then you just like say, that's why. You can't just like think about something that you like mutter to yourself and then, so that's why. Because they won't understand.
しょうもない？しょうもないですって？この私が逆な扱いされたのがしょうもないって？
Yeah, to be honest, it was very well deserved for that guy. No, that's not the problem.
何よ何よ。だいたい見てたんなら間に入ってくれればよかったのに。そしたらストックも消費せずに済んだのよ。
Salina is coming at me, fuming with anger and with tears in her eyes. Isn't this just her taking it out on me? It seems she's still as hot-tempered as ever. Once she gets riled up, there's no stopping her. I was completely overwhelmed by Salina's fierce demeanor. Oh, that's her. I have thought of like something else because like my ringtone is worse. Just then a cell phone ringtone cut through the air. Salina's angry outburst stopped dead in its tracks. Pick it up because this is still bad. Since the call received while on patrol is likely an urgent message from a colleague. Mikone? I hurriedly pulled out my cell phone and answered the call. Oh, it was me after all. Moshi Moshi? I thought she's like, Subaru, have you this, like, you know, found the Ishin? It was Miko on the phone, and it was exactly the news I've been hoping for. Where? Got it. I'll be right there. After saying that, she hung up. It's over by the space park, Salina. Let's go. Wakatta. Her earlier confidence had vanished, and Salina nodded with a slightly nervous look on her face. We are here. Where's the Ishin? Salina and I have made it into the entrance of Space Park. But the Space Park is so big that I have no idea where the alien god is.
私、ミヤコに電話してみる。
Yeah, please. Selena took out her cell phone, tapped away at it, and held it to her ear. Meanwhile, I slipped on the protective gloves Tomo had given me the other day. From here on out, there's a good chance we will run into some strange gods and end up in a fight.
ダメ、電話に出ない。どうしたんだろう。
Either she hasn't noticed the phone, or she's in a situation where she can't even think about answering it.
それってまさか。
I nodded at Selena, who was hesitating and tried calling Tomo's cell phone. She was supposed to be with Miko.
もしもし、スバルか。
Is that you, Tomo? I'm in front of Space Park. Where are you right now?
遊歩道のあたり、ミコ姉ちゃんが偉人と戦ってる。
Got it. The walking path. I'll be right over. I called out to Minakura while looking over at Selena. Selena nodded silently. It seemed she had been listening and understood the situation. And so we hurried toward the promenade. When they mentioned spacebar, by the way, they meant the promenade and not the outside of like the sidewalk and stuff. We are at the walking path, Tomo. Where are you? I ran to the scene while on the phone, but there was no sign of Miko or Tomo anywhere. Tomo? Hello? Tomo? There's no response from Tomo on the other end of the line. The call itself seems to still be connected though. Selena, what's wrong? When I looked in the direction Selena was pointing as she suddenly let out a shriek. What the... Damn it, not again. Just like yesterday, there was what looked like a mummified corpse. What's more, it was even wearing the same uniform it was from our school. At this point, Mikone's theory is starting to seem more and more plausible. Hey, do you hear anything?
なんだろうこの音。気持ち悪い。
We hear a strange, low rumbling noise. It was a physically unpleasant sound, like a mosquito buzzing right next to my ear. I can't find Miko or Tomo anywhere. Let's head toward where the sound is coming from.
仕方ないわね。本当は行きたくないけど、行くしかないか。
There was nothing here but mummies. Selena and I headed toward the woods, where we could hear the noise coming from. Mikore! Tomo! Where are you?
またミイラが。
Damn. As they entered the woods, towering alongside the walking path, Selena let out another scream. By the way, is this like a foreshadowing? Like, it's kind of like Simpsons that foreshadowed the Suicide Forest incident with Logan Paul. I don't know, I'm just saying that... I mean, no, the Suicide Forest was always Suicide Forest, but Logan Paul made a joke about it, I don't even know, I think. So it's like... I don't know, in 2009, was the Suicide Forest always the Suicide Forest? The second one? No way, are they both part of the delinquent gang? On the bright side, no one is going to die anymore if everyone's dead. A mummy wearing the Matsuzawa Municipal Academy uniform, lying haphazardly on the ground. It seems a group of bullies was targeted by a demon while they were hanging out together. This is a clean sweep. If that's the case, are there other victims as well? I mean, he can't be left alive because he will know our true powers. Just then a scream rang out for the third time, only this time it wasn't Selena's. I saw a guy who looked like a real roughneck running toward me with a desperate look on his face. The same uniform as mine, so you must be a survivor of that bullying group. And at the same time, that strange noise began to echo. A low rumbling, grating noise, one that made the air vibrate in short bursts, gradually drew nearer. What the fuck is this, Slenderman? What on earth is that? Chasing after the delinquent boy who was running away was a crimson-colored mass of something. At first glance, it looks like a swarm of flying insects, but the swarm has coalesced into a single mass, vaguely forming a human shape. Is that guy the source of that noise from earlier? Or rather, what on earth was that? Yeah, this sound is insanely shit. The mysterious swarm, which had taken human form, scattered and eventually caught up with the delinquent boy as he fled. I'm going to see something horrifying in the VN. Damn, a death scene being shown for the first time. Something that looked like a swarm of red flying insects swarmed around the delinquent boy, enveloping him in an instant. Having a bad feeling, I instinctively tried to extend my nerve wires, but the enemy was one step ahead of me. What? A terrifying scene unfolded before my eyes. The swarm of insects surrounding the boy spun around at high speed, forming a whirlpool. Suddenly, the boy standing in the center let out a blood-curdling scream and began spewing smoke from every part of his body.
何なのあれあれ一体何してるのよ
By the time while we are yapping, this man would have died twice or 100 times. I don't know, but we have to help them. Well, you can't. I hold both hands out in front of me and focus my attention on my fingertips. Go, nerve wire. Damn, the gloves. Steel tendons extending from my fingertips tear through the sky and reach out toward the swarm of flying insects. First, let's pull the boys who's been attacked out of there. Ouch, damn it! I got knocked back. Something swirling at high speed deflects the nerve wires, preventing them from reaching the boy under attack. But it was that moment of contract that finally made me realize what the flying insect really was. That's sand. The source of that writing, buzzing noise is nothing but a mass of red sand. Even as that was happening, the boy surrounded by red sand was spewing smoke from every part of his body with incredible force. Before long, right before our eyes, he began to turn into a mummy before we knew it. No way, could this really be?
これがミイラ化の原因ってわけ
Sully and I were so shocked we didn't know what to do. Eventually, the lump of red sand sets him, the delinquent boy, free. In just a matter of seconds, the boy had turned into a complete mummy. Even though I saw it right before my eyes, I still can't quite believe it, but at least the principle behind mummification has now been clarified. The fact that he can pull off such a crazy stunt means that after all this guy is...
スバル君サリナ
That voice, is that you, Tomo?
二人とも気をつけてそいつ手強いわ
ミヤコもいるよかった無事だったのね
あいつらあんたたちの仲間なのか
そうよもう大丈夫だから安心して
When I looked back, I saw not only Tomo but also Mikone, who was carrying a 7-branched sword, and a male student I didn't recognize. Judging by the fact that he's wearing a schoolboy's uniform, he's probably one of the bullies.
その砂の塊が異人そのものよ今も強い反応を感知してる
So that's how it is, after all. But this guy... I muttered to myself as I looked over at the group of red figures. The sand-like alien entity that turned that boy into mummy is gathering together again to form a human shape. I suppose you could call them sand figures. It looked just like a three-dimensional shadow, though not particularly well crafted. It seemed to be meant to resemble a person. Is this some kind of camouflage too? I've seen several of the other gods' disguises before, but this one was in a league of its own.
本当、何でもありなのね。
Yeah, I can't believe I can even mimic a form like this. It can. We too possess abilities similar to those of the other gods, but they are, after all, limited. I was once again astounded by the power of the original, authentic foreign god. Is this guy not coming at us? The sand-like alien god isn't moving. It looks like it's hesitating between coming toward us or toward Miko and the others. If you're not coming, I'll come to you. If he's after that guy who's with Miko and the others, I can't let him go. In that case, the early bird catches the worm. I don't know if this will work on him, but I'm raising both hands in front of me and firing a nerve wire. That did not have before, but okay. Steel nerves extending from my 5 fingers towards the sand god. I let it snap like a whip and scythe through the enemy. No way, it's not working. The sand god can instantly return to normal even if caught by wire. I can't feel any resistance at all either. Then Salina. I see, since this strange god has camouflaged its entire body as sand, that's why it slips right through even when I slash it with a wire. Sand? Just as I was thinking that, the enemy made a move. Spreading out from the human figure, a swarm of dust resembling a swarm of flying insects head straight towards us. I heard Tomo's voice and threw myself to the side to dodge it. And a crimson sandstorm swept past the spot where I had been standing just a few moments ago. Right after that, a clump of sand struck the tree behind me and flew past with a cracking sound. What on earth is that? After the clump of sand had passed through, the surface of the tree was covered with countless tiny holes. I guess this is probably what happens. When strong winds blow and kick up sand, the sand grains can get carried by the wind and hit your body. This thing felt like it was many times more powerful. It was like a shotgun made out of sand. Damn it, here they come again. A sandstorm powerful enough to carve holes in trees. I wonder what would happen if you were hit by one head-on. Of course, I have no intention of proving that. I've got to find a way to avoid that next time too.
Subaru, 下がって!
Salina! Got it! Just then, I heard Salina's voice from behind me, so I stepped back.
そんななんか、吹っ飛べ!
We all saw it. I don't know if I have to blur this though. Selena darted out just as I stepped aside and heard a red test tube at him. If this does not help, then we are fucked. That test tube contains Selena's blood. I know it. Please just stop with this explaining.
いけー!
An explosion occurred at the center of the sandstorm, and the red man scattered in all directions.
どんなもんよ! これが乙女の血の威力!
Maiden. Alright, did you get it? Selina's Blood Blast is incredibly powerful. In terms of raw attack power alone, it's definitely the strongest among us. If she takes that head on, even a godlike being like him won't get off scot-free. But just then, that grating noise came through again. Now wait, did it go back the way it was? Maybe then blood, then Tomo, probably? Something like that. The scattered red sand gathers once more, forming a featureless human figure. And just as if nothing had happened, the sand figure stood there.
嘘でしょ。そんなの反則よ。
Perhaps in response to Selina's scream, which sounded like a shriek, the sand deity once again dispersed its body. This time, shift my target to Selina, and sends a swarm of sand clumps her way like a swarm of flying insects.
やだ。来ないでよ。
Like a sandstorm, the sand deity charged straight towards Selina. Selina frantically tries to pull the next text tube out of her pocket, but perhaps because she's flustered, she's having trouble doing so. Selina, get behind me, quick! I extend my neural wires toward the sand deity in order to track Selina. Wires slithe through the sky with a screech, darting in every direction as they attempt to tear apart the sand god. But the wires still slip right through that sandstorm like form, and I can't stop the enemy's attack. No, get out of the way, Selina.
嘘。間に合わない。
Then the crimson mass of sand closed in on Selina, and that crisp, dry sound rang out. It's powerful enough to pierce the bark of a tree. If a human were to take a hit from that, it would be no laughing matter. Selina! Without thinking, I shouted Selina's name. When the sandstorm had finally passed, something else was standing there in Selina's place.
恭平。
Kyo, great timing. I don't know what you are about to do with that, but okay. I mean, wait. He could probably punch hard enough to create a glass. Is this how it works? Like, I mean, no, because this does not make sense. That explosion's supposed to make the sand, like, the sand entity or deity or whatever this is, like, into glass, so this already doesn't make sense. That figure resembling a bronze statue, it was Kyo, whose entire body had been hardened by his special ability. At the moment that felt like deja vu, Kyo seemed to have thrown himself in front of Selina at the last possible second to shield her.
今だ。もう一発食らわせてやれ。
わかった。
Kyo, having broken out of his disguise, called out to Selina, and Selina snapped back to her senses and nodded. And then toward the sand deity who had turned around and returned.
今度こそ食らえ。
The test tube Selina threw exploded, and the blast swept away the sandstorm. How about this time, huh? But once again the sand god restored itself to its original form. Why isn't it becoming glass? So Selina's explosion doesn't work on him either. How on earth am I supposed to beat him? The sand deity doesn't move. It remains in human form, staring intently at me, or is it? I can't tell since it has no eyes. The stalemate continues like this for a while. It seems the other side is on guard as well. What about Mikone's sword then? That's right, Selina's explosion isn't completely ineffective. The blast can temporarily knock her sand body back. It goes back to normal right away, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's no damage. Again? Soon the sand god dispersed, his humanoid form like mist. He simply vanished. What happened?
異人の反応が消えたわ。もう大丈夫よ。
When I turned around at the sound of that voice, I saw Miko and Tomo, and behind them stood the surviving male students.
スバル君、サリナ、キョウ君も大丈夫。
Now they are going to know, like, our superpowers. I'm fine, but
私もなんとか。寿命はだいぶ縮んだ気がするけどね。
俺はほとんど何もしてないからな。
you took that sandstorm head on, didn't you? Are you okay?
俺が異能を使ってる間はほぼ無敵状態だ。その代わりこっちも動けないけどな。
Kyo's special ability, bronze form, bronze mode, bronze form. Huh. If Salina has the strongest attack power, then Kyo has the best defense. On the other hand, I was totally useless. I mean, that alien god is just being a total jerk in so many ways. Everyone was useless. Hey, come to think of it, Kyo, where's Nayuta? She was supposed to be patrolling with you, right?
ああ。望月なら廃工場で待たせてある。何の力もないあの子を戦闘には巻き込めないからな。
Okay, thanks. That was the best decision. I don't want to put Nayuta in any danger either.
とにかく全員無事でよかったわ。異人の反応もないし、完全に撤退したみたい。
Having Mikone's words, we all let out of a sigh of relief. A strange god that camouflages its entire body as sand. I've never seen anything like that before. Honestly, I was thinking, is that even possible? But I was reminded once again that I was dealing with a truly monstrous creature.
それにしても、今回は被害が大きいわ。結局一人しか守りきれなかった。
Mikone looked down at the ground with a somber expression. There, lying on the ground, was a figure. So this really was the work of the other god after all.
ええ。私と友が到着した時にはすでに一人。その後も、ここでもう一人。
Since they were mummified right in front of us, that makes 3, I guess. In other words, following Shogo Kinoshita yesterday, 3 more people were killed by the alien god today. So 5. And the only one who survived was the one boy who had been with Miko and the others.
なんなんだよ。こりゃ一体どういうことだよ。
The boy who had been silently watching the situation unfold finally spoke up. You are one of the students in Class 1C, part of the group that hung out with Shogo Kinoshita, right?
そうだよ。だからなんだってんだ。
You know by now, right? You guys were being targeted by that sand-like monster.
なんでそんな。みんな死んじまった。次は俺か。
A boy screaming in sheer terror. I didn't know what to say in response, so I could only stammer. After the battle with the sand demon, I called the police anonymously, just like I did yesterday. Then, just to be on the safe side, I walked the only surviving boy, Yasushiko Sasaki, is it? From Class 1C home. Yes, Yasuhiko, I think. As we parted ways, I reminded him to make sure he locked the doors, but against the sand-worshipping deity, it was probably nothing more than a token measure. But young Sasaki was completely terrified and kept nodding in agreement with our warnings.
おかえりなさい、皆さん。
I'm home, Narita. When Narita looked at me and broke into a sudden smile, I found myself smiling back. It was already completely dark by the time we finally made it back to the abandoned factory. Narita, who had been waiting here alone while the others fought the alien god, comes running over like a puppy that has found its owner.
先輩、大丈夫でしたか？怪我はしてません。
Yeah, I texted you, didn't I? Everyone's okay.
それはそうですけど、やっぱりこの目でちゃんと確認しないと。トモ先輩も、みやこさんも、サリナちゃんも、キョウ先輩も、皆さんご無事で。心配ない。みんな大丈夫だから。よかった。ここで待ってる間、もう心配で仕方なかったんですからね。
Even as she said this, Naruto seemed relieved after confirming that everyone was safe. And partly to explain the situation to Naruto, I'll have Miku and the others give a brief overview of what happened.
私と友が巡回中に偉人の反応を感知して、その反応が宇宙公園の方からだったの。
So I contacted the me and Selena team and the Kyo and Naruto team, and Miku and the others rushed to the scene. That rhymed. They reportedly found a mummified body near the walking path. Furthermore, in the woods beside the walking path, a group of boys wearing our school uniforms were being attacked by that sand monster.
それで私、砂の偉人と戦ったんだけど、私の七支刀もあの砂の体には効かなかったわ。
Then what the hell we are supposed to do? Maybe a vacuum cleaner. No? Like that... Didn't they... I have to watch back. I have a sort of hunch that someone talked about a vacuum cleaner, no? It seemed that Miko's 7-branch sword has a special effect. When it pierces a target, it dispels the disguise of a foreign deity. But perhaps the power simply couldn't be unleashed against an opponent. The blade couldn't pierce.
それで結局守りきれずにまた一人偉人にやられて、スバル君たちが来てくれた時にもう一人も。
And just like that, 3 people were turned into mummies all at once. Only one survived. This time we were completely caught off guard. The result is the grim reality of 4 victims in just 2 days. From our perspective, our goal being to minimize the damage caused by the alien deity, we have to admit that this was a complete defeat. I couldn't stop someone from being turned into a mummy right before my eyes.
私もあの砂の形態は想定してなかった。ミイラ化した死体を発見した時に気づくべきだったのに。っていうか、あれってどういう理屈なの？あんなすぐに人間がミイラになるなんて、この目で見てもまだ信じられないんだけど。
A vacuum cleaner would solve the job.
あれは多
Or a
分
leaf blower.
砂の体で高速回転することにより摩擦熱を発生させながら強大な圧力をかけて全身の水分を吸い出している。
すまん。よくわからん。
Selena and Naruto nodded in agreement at Kyohai's remark.
つまり巨大な乾燥機みたいなもの。
I see. When you put it that way, I think I kind of get it. To be precise, it doesn't actually dry them with hot air like a dryer does. Apparently, the process is more similar to sprinkling salt on slugs to dissolve them. Of course, since humans don't lose moisture as easily as slugs do, they are being forcibly dehydrated by the pressure of the sand and the heat generated by friction.
偉人はそうすることによってごく短い時間で人間の成分の大半を摂取することが可能。
So basically they suck out all the insides, leaving nothing but bones and skin behind. Is that it? That's the reason for the mummification. It's believed to be the predatory form of that sand deity. Plus, it looks like ordinary attacks don't work on that sand body. Neither my nerve wires nor Mikuna's 7-blade sword had any effect. Naturally, Kyo's hand-to-hand combat won't work either. The only thing that seems to have had any effect is Sunny's explosive ability, but even that doesn't look like it's causing any fatal damage.
とにかく問題は今後どうするかね。
Go to fucking Lidl and grab a fucking vacuum cleaner, like I said.
高山直樹くんをいじめていた不良グループは昨日の木下翔吾を合わせて4人も殺された。
So the only one who survived was that guy, Yasuhiko Sasaki.
でもこれであの偉人が高山ってこの復讐を企んでるのはほぼ確定したよね。
じゃあもしかして生き残った佐々木くんもまた狙われるんでしょうか。
間違いないだろうな。ここまでやっておいて一人だけ見逃すなんてのは考えにくい。
そうなると私たちのすべきことは佐々木康彦の警護。
Finally, Tomo clarified the plan moving forward. It's easier to deal with things when you know what the enemy is after, rather than just wandering around town aimlessly. But if that sand deity attacks us again, how are we supposed to fight it? No one said a word in response to the words that had slipped out of my mouth. Oh no, I think I just said something I shouldn't have. I can practically feel the anxiety spreading through the room.
大丈夫。みんな心配しないで。
Tomo. Amid the heavy silence, it was Tomo of all people who spoke first.
あの砂の偉人の対抗策は私が考える。
If you were smart, you already figured that out.
私は異能を使えないから、せめてこの頭を使ってみんなを助ける。
Tomo declared it clearly, as if to encourage everyone. I found Tomo's words truly reassuring, and I shook off the feelings of anxiety that were casting a shadow over me. Alright, I do my best too. I don't know if my powers will work on him, but I do everything I can.
そうね。友の対策にも期待してるから。頼んだわよ、友。今回の戦いはあなたの頭脳にかかってるんだからね。
俺にできることがあったら言ってくれ。力仕事なら任せろ。
私も何にもできないけど頑張ってお手伝いします。うん。みんな頑張ろう。
One for all for one. I guess not. I stood up for a classmate who was being bullied by a group of troublemakers in our class. After that, the group of bullies started targeting me and harassing me. At first I fought back against their harassment, but the more I resisted, the worse the bullying got, until eventually I just let them do whatever they wanted to me. What's more, not a single one of my classmates will help me. Just a little while ago, we were hanging out and having fun together, but now they act like they don't care what happens to me. Even that boy I stood up for is looking away from me, as if he no longer cares about me. I hated the bullies, but the way everyone else treated me was the hardest part. I'm crushed by despair. No one will help me. No one is on my side. Meanwhile, the bullying by the delinquent gang grew increasingly severe. Was the last day the 7th? Several days have passed since our encounters with the Sand Deity. The day after the incident was quite a commotion. After all, 4 people were killed in just 2 days, and to make matters worse, their bodies had mysteriously mummified. It seems the police could no longer keep the mummified body a secret, so they announced that Kinoshita's body found the previous day was also mummified. The case, known to the public as the serial mummification incident, had been making headlines on talk shows day after day. It's class time. As usual, I'm half listening to the lecture while reflecting on the past few days. A rumor is currently spreading at school that the vengeful spirit of Naoki Takayama was bullied, cursed, and killed Kinoshita's group. What's more, since it's not exactly off the mark, it's all the more insidious. And Yasuhiko Sasaki, the sole survivor of the bullying group, just stopped coming to school and began staying home. So we decided to keep an eye on his house in the evenings. Not only us, but the police are also stationed around his house. Thank God, I was about to say that. Providing security that's almost like a stakeout. However, the sand deity has not appeared since then. As a result, the situation has now reached a stalemate. All I can do in this situation is... All I can do was train myself in preparation for the upcoming battle against the sand deity. The bell rings and recess begins. But I didn't even get up from my seat. I just kept working away on my side job.
よーサンド、何してんだ？
Amamiya, huh? Hey, take a look. I held out both hands in front of Amamiya, feeling a little proud of myself.
なんだこりゃ？あやっとり？
Pretty awesome, huh? That's the Tokyo Tower.
いや、何がどうすげえのかわかんねえし。
Amamiya's reaction to my masterpiece was truly lukewarm. Yeah, whenever I have a spare moment these days, I've been practicing cat's cradle. Like cradle. Of course, it wasn't to become a professional string figure artist in the future, but rather it was training to master my special ability. A while back, Tomo suggested I try playing cat's cradle as a form of mental training to help me control my special ability. So lately I've been spending all my time practicing cat's cradle. Physical attacks are largely ineffective against that sand deity. But I thought that if I could use the nerve wire more effectively, I might be able to do something against him.
しかし、なんでまたあやとり？小さい女の子じゃあるまいし。
Don't be silly, cat's cradle is actually pretty complex. As I said that, I rearranged the patterns in both hands and showed him how to make a diamond, which is a pretty advanced technique. Hey, can you get this off?
ほーん。お前俺の手先の器用さを知らないな。軽音部のゴールドフィンガーとは俺のことだぞ。
I never even see you play an instrument, but if you are going to say that, I'd like to see what you are capable of.
見てろよ。こんなのちょちょいのちょいっと。あれ、こっちじゃないか。じゃあこっち？
No, no, that's not the one.
あれ、じゃあこっちか。
That's not what I mean. I want you to do this part like this.
ああ、もううるさいな。横からやいやいと口を挟むな。
And with that gold finger, Amamiya flies into a rage. This guy's totally useless.
安藤くん、それあやとり？うわー、懐かしい。なになに？ああ、ほんとだ。安藤くん、私にもやらせて。ああ、こーら、何さらっと抜け駆けしてんのよ。それ私が先に言おうとしたのに。あんただって抜け駆けするつもりだったんじゃん。
こら、ちょっと待ってお前ら。今は俺がやってる最中なんだぞ。
いいからどいてよ、雨宮くん。邪魔よ、邪魔。そうよ、そうよ。あんたは一人でシコシコあやとりやってなさい。
ガー、何その扱いの違い。お前らそんなに安藤のがええのんか。
当たり前でしょ。
うわ、傷ついた。マジへこみ。もういや、こんな役回り。
Even as he said that, his eyes were smiling, or rather, since they were so narrow, Amamiya actually looked like he was having a good time. Then the girls from my class who were nearby gathered around, and perhaps because of the sense of nostalgia, the atmosphere became strangely lively.
じゃあ安藤くん、私からやってみるね。
Yeah, I guess.
ここをこうして、難しい。
Not there. That finger over there.
やだ、間違えて指が絡まっちゃった。ああ、どさくさに紛れて何やってんのよ、あんた。
The girls in my class tried to take the string figure from my hand, but for some reason, none of them could. Or are you just not planning to... No, or are you just not planning on taking it? And why do you keep touching my hand all the time? This isn't much of a practice session. The best way to practice is to have someone who's good at cat's cradle tie it for you, and then try to untie it yourself. In this class, who seems good at cat's cradle or who has nimble fingers? Oh, right, Tomo. Could you go get it for me?
私
Yes, did I stutter? On a whim, I went over to Tomo, who unlike usual was still at her desk during break. It was Tomo who first suggested I try Cat's Cradle, and since she's the type to build her own net launcher and my protective gloves, she must be pretty handy with her hands. Come on, give it a try. You know how to do it, right? I hold out my hands, which I formed into a cat's cradle in front of Tomo. She stares at them silently. For some reason, a strange tension arises between Tomo and me.
安藤君と皆倉さんっていつの間に仲良くなったの？しかも今友って呼んでたけど、何二人はどういう関係？あやとり仲間っていうわけじゃないわよね、まさか。すごい気になるわ。
お前らあやとりの方に注目しろよ。
There was a sense of tension in the air among the onlookers as well, though for a different reason. What is with this atmosphere? For long, Tomo made a move. She raised both hands in a fluid motion, and the next moment, her fingers were flying across the keyboard at breakneck speed. Whoa, that was fast. Suddenly, Tomo had a beautifully woven cat's cradle in her hand. It happened in the blink of an eye.
何今の？全然見えなかった。皆倉さんすごい！上手！
天才少女はあやとりも天才だったか。
The people around them let out gasps of admiration. I always thought she was good with her hands, but I never imagined Tomo was this good at cat's cradle. What's the deal? If you are this good, Tomo should have just taught me from the start.
それは、
Why? We are in the same class, so we could just pop over during break time.
恥ずかしいのに。
She said the thing that, like, you know, the Trinity 7 ad-lib. Huh? Did you say something?
何も。
Though she said, I think it's just confusing. Tomo replied curtly, well, this is just her usual attitude, so I didn't let it bother me. I finally felt like I was getting used to the current Tomo. Alright, this time I'm taking it. I mean, if I don't do that, I won't get any practice, will I?
そうだけど、私から取るの？
That goes without saying, don't move it. By the way, this CG was probably pretty hard to draw, because I have no clue how to play Cat's Cradle. And now it's my turn to reach for the Cat's Cradle Tomo has made. This part goes like this, and this... No, that's not it. Alright, this way. Me desperately trying to snatch the strings figures from Tomo's hands. However, building it myself was quite different from assembling it with someone else's help, and it turned out to be harder than I expected. Huh? Since it goes like this from that finger, you are supposed to thread it through the space between your thumb and index finger. Oh, sorry, my fingers got tangled up.
いいけど。
As we try to pull the string from between our fingers, our hands become intricately tangled. We are playing twisters with our hands. Tomo's hands are more than a size smaller than mine, so it's really hard to hold onto them. Tomo's fingers are soft and slightly cool to the touch. Her nails were as tiny as a doll's, and my rough fingers forced their way in, trying to pull the string out.
そんな乱暴にしちゃダメ。ほどけちゃう。
I know what you are doing. Oh, I see, I get it. I'll be nicer from now on.
優しく。
I'll be gentle this time, probably, but okay. But it's so frustrating. I feel like I'm going to come before. Why would you say that? You know what you're doing.
強引に
I'm basically pretty clumsy, so if I don't do a good job, I'm sorry.
私もこんなの初めてだから。
Oh my god.
何この空気。これあやとりだよね。性的な意味でなく。
Amamiya is saying something, but I'm so focused on playing Cat's Cradle that I can't hear a word he's saying. Carefully, one by one, as if untrusting someone. Fucking hell, bro. I'm going to walk out of the room. I transfer the string used for Cat's Cradle from one hand to the other. Almost there. I think I can make it with just a little more effort. No. My fucking god. Oh my. What is this? Heavenburst Red? When did the writing become this good? Oh my god. I feel like I'm getting some intense stares from the people watching. I didn't think everyone would be so interested in Cat's Cradle. But I don't think you need to watch it with such bated breath. Just a little further. I can almost see the finish line. What's up, Tomo?
その
Tomo's cheeks gradually flushed, and she began to look restless and fidgety. This feeling, could it be... Tomo, you wouldn't be...
トイレ
Just as I thought, I couldn't help but look up at the sky. What? Look up at Tomo, probably. Come to think of it, Tomo is usually shy, and he or she is surrounded by classmates. She doesn't even know that well, so it's no wonder she's so nervous that she feels the urge to pee.
ごめん、もう我慢できない。
Don't. Tomo jumped up from her seat and ran straight out of the classroom.
何ミナクラのやつどうしたんだ急に。
No, just a little... I ran out of time.
時間切れ？何の？
As Amamiya and the other girls looked at me in puzzlement, I said nothing more and just quietly began making a Cat's Cradle. Just go after her, bro.
てなわけでさ、安藤に感化されて、うちのクラスでは今あやとりが密かなブームの兆しよ。
へえ、なんだかとっても楽しそうです。学校では意外なものが流行したりしますからね。消しゴム飛ばすとか、給食に出る牛乳瓶の蓋集めとか。
Wait, back in our day, the milk for school lunch came in cartons. So there weren't any lids, were there?
ジェネレーションギャップ？
Wait, isn't Danuchi supposed to be younger than me?
女性の年を確認するなんて失礼ですよ、安藤先輩。
Come on, you're a freshman, right? Besides, you don't look any older than me, no matter how I look at it. Lunchtime. A lively lunch break spent with the usual four of us. During the conversation, Amamiya mentioned the Cat's Cradle incident during recess to Nayuta and the others, and from there the conversation veered off into the allegations that Tenyuji had lied about her age.
でもいいなぁ。私も先輩とやとりしたいです。
So, shall we give it a try right now?
本当ですか？よーし、先輩とくんずほぐれつしちゃうぞ。
Hey, aren't you misunderstanding what Ayatori is, or Cat's Cradle is? Feeling a vague sense of unease, I pulled a string from my pocket and quickly tied a Cat's Cradle.
おお、鮮やかな手つき。先輩、やりますね。
Well, I've been practicing quite a bit.
でも、あんまり器用になりすぎないでくださいね。
Why? It can't hurt to be more skilled, can it?
だって先輩が器用になっちゃったら曲がったネクタイを結び直してあげるという私の至福の時間が。
How the hell should I know? However, even though I got better at string figures, I still couldn't tie a tie properly. Probably you should start with that then. I really am clumsy, aren't I? So it looks like my worries about Nayuta are unfounded for the time being. Come on, just do it already.
あ、そうでした。それでは失礼して。
Nayuta wiggled her fingers excitedly, trying to take the string figure from my outstretched hand.
あっと、こうしてこうして。
She's the
絡まっちゃった。
She's the main girl and she does not even get a CG for that. No, that's not it. It's this way.
こうですか？
What are you doing? You're so clumsy. I told you that's not it. I can't stand watching this pathetic thing.
もうギー！なんでそんな厳しいですか？もっと優しく教えてくださいよ。
Nayuta's finally snapped. I didn't mean to be so harsh though. I made Amamiya mad back then too. Maybe I'm just terrible at teaching people things. Maybe you're a dickhead. That was a feast.
はい、お粗末様でした。
Thanks for watching, what? We finished our lunches, playing cat's cradle along the way. There are about 50 minutes left until lunch break ends. In the past, I would have just hung out and chatted with everyone until then, but... Well then, I'm heading out.
今日も理科準備室か？
I just smiled like the I show speed meme just now. Yeah, I'm going to check on Tomo. After lunch, I make a point of stopping by the science prep room where Tomo is. Lately, that's become my new daily routine. I told Amamiya and Yuji that Tomo and I are childhood friends, so they seem to understand the situation without me having to explain the details. Well, I can't exactly explain it, like how Tomo is in the science prep room developing gear to fight the other gods. See you later.
はい、いってらっしゃい、先輩。
With Nayuta smiling as I left, I walked off the rooftop.
なゆちゃん、いいんですか？え、何が？安藤先輩と皆倉先輩のことですよ。あの二人、どんどん仲良くなっちゃってるんじゃ。うん、いいことだよ。最近は私ともお話ししてくれるようになったし。本当に、それでいいんですか？うん、これでいいんだよ、なゆちゃん。
安藤のやつ、あいつは本当に罪作りな男だよ。
Excuse me. Sorayashimasu. It's become something of a habit, so I entered the science prep room with a stiff, formal greeting. At first glance, it looked like no one was inside, but I knew the owner was hiding behind the desk. Hey Tomo, are you messing around with the computer again? When I went around to the back of the desk, I found Tomo there, working on her laptop. Tomo glanced my way with just her eyes, then looked back down at her computer screen. Lately, Tomo has been like this during lunch breaks. It's not that I'm just surfing the web for... It's not that she's just surfing the web for fun. This is a legitimate part of our efforts to combat alien deities. So, what do you think? That sand deity we have been talking about. Do you think we have found a way to deal with it?
うん。いくつか考えてはいるんだけど、今どれが一番有効なのか検証しているところ。
I see. That's reassuring. Ever since coming into contact with the sand deity, Tomo seems to have been constantly thinking of ways to counter it. Normal attacks had no effect on him, since he was made out of sand. If we don't come up with some kind of plan before our next fight, we won't be able to stop him from committing his atrocities.
いくらなんでも無敵ということはありえない。必ず弱点があるはず。
You're right. If Tomo's going to look for it, I just do what I can. I said that, then took out the string again and started making the cat's cradle figures by myself. She's going to blush. She's going to blush. And so for a while the two of us worked in silence, completely absorbed in our tasks. In the science prep room, only the sound of Tomo's brisk typing echoes. She's eating calorie-mate again? Or calorie-mate? So while working on her computer, Tomo would occasionally pick at her calorie-mate. Empty boxes are scattered all over the floor. That's the kind of thing that makes her seem surprisingly sloppy. So it's calorie-mate for lunch again as usual?
好物だし。
Yeah, let her have her calorie-mate, you fuck. Nobody's messes with my girl and her calorie-mate. It's just a hassle, isn't it? I'm telling you to eat a proper lunch.
11種類のビタミンをはじめ6種類のミネラル、タンパク質、脂質、糖質をバランスよく含み、1箱で1日に必要なビタミン量の約半分が補給できる。
It's no use talking about the benefits of calorie-mate. I'm talking about your diet.
シュン。
When I scolded her, Tomo hung her head dejectedly. Man, this guy is such a handful. This girl. In a way, she seems to be even more of a handful than she used to be. That's what happens when you always eat alone. If you ate with someone else, the food would taste so much better.
そうかな。
So come have lunch with us next time. I invited you before, right? You really don't want to, even with me there? Tomo didn't say a word. I didn't want to pressure her, but I really wanted Tomo to have lunch with me.
わかった。
Really?
でも今やってる作業の目処がついてから。
Okay, we can do it once things have settled down over there. From her perspective, she probably needs some time to prepare herself. I decided to trust Tomo and wait. I promised, you know, I'll be waiting. Tomo nodded slightly, her face flushing ever so slightly. The wind is so cold.
寒い？
What the hell? Where are we? Oh, just a little, but it's okay. It was evening. Tom and I were sitting side by side on the grass. This is a dream? This is a vacant lot overgrown with tall grass, a little pocket of open space in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Young man and woman sitting side by side in a place like this might look like they are making out, but of course that's not the case. It's the case. It really does get cold when you just sit still.
今度から防寒対策が必要。
Tomo, peering through the binoculars beside me, replied to my mutterings. To put it simply, what we were doing was keeping watch on a certain house that could be seen from this vacant lot. Yasuhiko Sasaki is there right now. That's right, he's the last remaining member of that bullying group. Ever since he was attacked by the Sand Demon a few days ago, Sasaki hasn't been coming to school and has been staying home. And that strange god must still be targeting him, the last remaining member of the bullying group. So during our evening patrol, we decided that one team would keep watch on Sasaki's house. The other two teams would continue patrolling the town as usual. So today, Tomo and I were paired up to take the watch. Tomo, what's the latest on the police?
今のところは特に無線からの連絡もない。
I see. Unlike us, they are probably at it all day long, so it must be tough for them. We weren't the only ones keeping an eye on the Sasaki family. The police had also begun a full-scale investigation. The 4 people who have died so far were all involved in Naoki Takayama's bullying. The police realized this and assigned a bodyguard to the surviving boy, Sasaki. In other words, if anything unusual happens, the police are bound to take action, so we are keeping an eye on their movements as well. What's wrong? Did something happen?
警察の人が車の中で食事を始めただけ。
I see. I guess it's got to be ampan and milk after all.
お寿司を食べてる。
Eating sushi. What's with that fancy vibe? Just stick to ampan and milk.
私に言われても。
Sorry, There was no point in teasing the police about their snacking, and even if I mentioned it to Tomo, it still wouldn't have made any difference. By the way, our surveillance basically consists of watching the Sasaki family through binoculars. We also use Tomo's modified headphones to intercept police radio transmissions. That's right, apparently those headphones Tomo always wears are actually powerful virus receivers.
もちろんデジタル無線にも対応してる。APR でも TDMA でも何でも来い。
That's what Tomo told me, sounding rather proud of herself, but I didn't really get what was so great about it. Thanks to Tomo's technical skills, which made this impossible feat possible, we have been keeping a close eye on both the Sasaki family and the police watching them. However, there have been no notable developments over the past few days. The first and second attacks happened on consecutive days, so why aren't the enemies making a move now that there's only one of them left?
もしかしたら楽しんでるのかも。
You are enjoying the... What? The Ishin enjoying this?
そう。偉人の目的が高山直樹の復讐なら、今の佐々木康彦の状況は見ていて愉快かもしれない。
It's true that young Sasaki is currently holed up at home, trembling with fear. Just like Naoki Takayama, whom they once bullied and drove to the brink. Seeing that, is the alien god enjoying himself, prioritizing it over his own appetite? I guess so, but it doesn't really click with me. I tilted my head when I heard Tomo's theory. Isn't it actually Ishin himself, the one plotting revenge, who killed Naoki Takayama in the first place? Just because he inherited his memories, does that mean he is so obsessed with avenging the person he killed? The alien god took revenge on the people who had bullied the human it had devoured. On the human's behalf, it was a strange contradiction.
私はなんとなくわかる気がする。
But Tomo continued to insist.
偉人は人間並みかそれ以上の知恵と知識を持っている。だけど人間社会の中で人間と共に生きていくという経験はない。
Well, I suppose that makes sense. Even if you say they can pass themselves off as humans through mimicry, it's still nothing more than pretending to be human. A foreign god wouldn't go so far as to take on human form and become deeply involved with humans.
そういう存在が人間関係の複雑さや理不尽さに苦しむ人を食ってその記憶を受け継いだ場合、なんて思うのかな。
That is...
それってまだ小さな子供がテレビの中の悪者に本気で怒りを覚えるのと同じなんじゃないかな。そう考えると偉人の行動原理というのが見えてくる気がする。
I see. I think I'm starting to get what Tomo is trying to say. And I remember when I spoke with Selena before, she said the other gods are as simple-minded as children. Even though they are using different words, they might be saying the same thing.
それにいじめられた人の気持ちならもっとよくわかるから。
Ah! Lord drop. Tomo. For some reason, those words made my heart ache. I can't quite put it into words, but I feel like I owe Tomo something. The guilt I felt for having avoided Tomo from 7 years ago right up until just the other day.
君たち そこで何をしてるんだ？
Just as I was stammering, not knowing what to say, someone suddenly spoke to me from behind. I'm sorry, but... Damn! When I turned around, there was a middle-aged man standing there. Before I even have a chance to figure out who that person is, I blurt something out without thinking. Dad?
ん？まさか、お前、スバルか？
お父さん、スバルくんの？
Tomo looked surprised, which was unusual for her, and glanced back and forth between me and the person standing in front of us. That's a full circle moment for this episode because we started with him. That's right, that middle-aged man's name was Natsuki Kamiya. He was my dad. Even though we hardly seen each other since he divorced Mom 7 years ago. Okay, so they divorced.
驚いた。大きくなったな。
Dad, have you aged a bit?
そりゃそうだ。
As we exchanged awkward pleasantries, I found myself in a complicated state of mind. My father was never one to pay much attention to family matters, but since my sister died 7 years ago, that tendency has only grown stronger. And at the time, my mother was emotionally unstable after losing her daughter, and I grew apart, and eventually we got divorced. They got divorced, not me. After that, I was worried about Mom, so I went over there, and Dad agreed to it. And so I went from being Subaru Kamiya to Subaru Ando. But I don't hate or dislike my dad. In fact, I'm proud of him for being a detective. Even though I always felt a bit lonely because they never paid much attention to me, I never had a grudge against them. But in the end, I chose to stay with my mom, and perhaps because I felt guilty about it, I never tried to see my dad after the divorce. So even though we have suddenly run into each other like this, to be honest, I don't really know what to do.
ところで、スバル、こんなところで何をしてるんだ？
Well, we have to say dating, because this is the dating cliché plot. That's exactly the kind of dad you are. Wait, are you still a detective?
ああ、今もちょっと仕事中でな。この辺を警備していたんだ。
When I heard that, I realized my dad was involved in the investigation of this case. This is bad. I didn't count on Dad being on the police side. Since we can't prove the existence of the other gods, or rather since it seems unlikely anyone would believe us, we can't work together with the police. And as far as the police were concerned, we were nothing more than suspicious characters snooping around the crime scene. Damn, how the hell am I supposed to explain this situation?
それで、お前たちはこんな空き地で一体何を？
Well, that's...
私たち、ちょっとおしゃべりしていただけです。
My dad grilled me and I was at a loss for words. That's when Tomo came to my rescue.
ここなら他に人気もなくて、二人っきりになれるから。
Tomo... Casually tugging at the hem of my shirt, Tomo tells Dad that.
あ、そうか。そういうことか。
And Dad looked at Tomo and me, and for some reason, he seemed strangely convinced. Oh, so that's what Tomo was aiming for. In other words, he deliberately let us misunderstand. Sure, it wasn't a bad quick-witted response, but having my father, whom I hadn't seen in 7 years, get the wrong idea is a bit...
お嬢さん、お名前は？
皆倉友です。
私は神谷夏彦、スバルの父です。どうやら息子が世話になっているようで。
はい。
Tomo, it's fine to nod there, but isn't blushing and looking down a bit too much of an act?
ま、それはともかくとして。
Perhaps feeling a little embarrassed by Tomo's reaction, I didn't mention it again.
ここにはあまり近づかない方がいい。人気がなくて危ないし、そろそろ日も暮れるからな。
When I looked up at the sky after hearing my father's words, the sun was indeed about to set. At this rate, it looks like the other god won't be making a move today. Dad's watching, so we should leave this to the police and get out of here. I hope he is not going to die though. Okay, well, I guess I head home now.
ああ、その方がいい。気をつけてな。
In the end, things remained awkward, right up until the very end, and my dad and I parted ways. And so, walking side by side with Tomo, I left the vacant lot behind.
ああ、スバル。
What, Dad?
その、なんだ。不純異性交友はしないように。
What? Huh?
いや、すまん。仕事からどうしてもな。
Dad says all sorts of nonsensical things like that. That was the first time my dad and I had seen each other in 7 years. After leaving the vacant lot, Tomo and I head back to the abandoned factory to file our report. I didn't say a word the whole time. Tomo didn't say anything either. The bullying by the delinquent gang keeps getting worse and worse. It seems that kind of sadistic behavior tends to escalate without end. I came to understand that human malice, especially when it has no reason or basis, can become utterly ruthless and cruel. One day, I was summoned to the gym storage room. I didn't want to go, but if I didn't, things would have turned out even worse. With that in mind, I had no choice but to head to the gym storage room after school. I don't know, by the way, if this is the Ishin or Tomo's thoughts in the past, but I'm just going to keep going with the Ishin one. As expected, I got beaten up there too. But what was vastly different from before was that there was no one there but them. If you are bullied in class, you will be made a scapegoat by the rest of your classmates. I thought it was at least a little better, because I wasn't having to endure that kind of emotional humiliation. Finally getting tired of tormenting me, the guys started to head home. Finally, they wrapped me up in a gym mat, stood me upside down, and left me there. With my arms hanging down, I'm wrapped in a thick mat, suspended upside down, and completely unable to move. All the blood rushed to my head, my eyes started to burn, and my head was pounding. I screamed out loud over and over again. I called for help. But it didn't reach anyone, but nobody came, Before long, my consciousness began to fade. I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't even speak. No one is helping me, not even in the classroom, even though I'm in a life-threatening situation. I had been asking for help all along. Back in the classroom, and even now, I've been crying out for help in my heart over and over again. But no help is coming. I felt miserable. I was frustrated. It was agonizing, and I was all alone. Someone, anyone, please help me. Three more days have passed since then. However, the Sand deity has yet to make an appearance, and the situation remains at a standstill. Young Sasaki too remained cooped up at home. I wonder what he's thinking right now in his room, still shaken by the sight of his comrades being turned into mummies right before his eyes. Do you really believe that Naoki Takayama's vengeful spirit exists? Do you regret bullying him? And is that too part of Ishin's revenge against the Sasaki's group who bullied Naoki Takayama?
やった！できた！東京タワーよ！
Okay, I'm going to end this episode here. this might have been the longest episode. I always say that, but this time I know for sure that this is the longest episode. I'm sorry about that. I thought that, you know, a route is like going to be not a full-fledged common route part, but it seems I was wrong. And also my throat is especially like very sore right now, even though I have a drink on me. So I actually simultaneously recorded the previous parts, and I have not even, you know, ended up editing it or cutting it. So I now have 2 parts to edit, so I'm probably going to take a break after these 2 parts and return with the Tomo Route. I mean, if we are doing another episode that is like this long, we might end up finishing it, to be honest, because I think by the next time we encounter the Ishin, we defeat the Ishin, and then we are going to the actual Tomo Route, which I probably have to cut unless there's some like story relevance. So I'm sorry about that, guys, but you know, I won't try to take any chances with YouTube. So I see you guys in the next episode, which is going to be 19, so it's not 20 yet. So thank you guys for watching. Ciao.